In the world of power, there's one form that goes unnoticed, one that bends people to your will without them even realizing it. It's not the loud, brash display of strength that commands attention. Instead, it's the subtle influence, the kind of power that enters a room before you do. This invisible force is what we call aura. It's a quiet power, not bound by action but by the space you occupy. You walk in, and the room shifts. People grow silent, their gazes involuntarily fixed on you, and the energy in the room changes without a word being spoken. This is not happenstance, not a coincidence. It's an art, one that Machiavelli understood well. He knew that aura was not something to be obtained through grand gestures or displays of strength, but through stillness, presence, and a careful manipulation of how others perceive you. Machiavelli recognized that true rulers didn't command by force, they commanded by shaping the atmosphere around them. Aura is the unseen weapon of rulers, their secret weapon. Aura is the key to ruling without needing to assert power overtly. When you master your aura, you do not need to shout, demand, or force submission. Instead, you simply walk in, and people naturally submit to the presence you've cultivated. Today, you'll learn how to build that presence, how to craft an aura so powerful that people bend to your will without even realizing why. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in his ability to rule through action. It was in his mastery of the subtle, psychological forces that shape the way people react to you. In the silence, in the pauses, in the stillness, this is where true power lies. When you understand how to build your aura, you no longer need to fight for attention. You become the center of it without even trying. Power doesn't always emerge from visible actions, from the loudest voice in the room, or the fiercest display of authority. Sometimes it comes from something far more subtle, the pressure in the air, the feeling that settles when you walk into a space. It's the way people pause when you speak, not because they fear you openly, but because your very presence commands respect. This is the essence of aura, the invisible weapon that makes others bend to your will without them even knowing why. To master your aura is to understand the profound effect your presence has on people. It is not about speaking loudly, but about filling the room with an energy that causes everyone else to second-guess themselves. Imagine walking into a room and feeling the temperature change, sensing the subtle shift in the energy as people pause, waiting for you to make your move, yet you haven't even said a word. Machiavelli understood this. He knew that the man who controls the atmosphere controls everything that follows. It's the silent command, the unspoken dominance that shakes the foundation of the room. While most people strive to impress with words or actions, the true master of aura knows that it's the moments of stillness that have the most power. Silence becomes a weapon. Calmness becomes terrifying. In this world, power is not about action. It's about perception. When you've built your aura properly, you don't need to raise your voice to be heard. Your presence speaks volumes before you ever utter a word. People will adjust their behavior instinctively, second-guessing themselves, unsure of what you'll do next. This is the power of aura. It's the silent control that bends others to your will without lifting a finger. When you walk into a room, something changes. People stop talking. They glance at you, their eyes lingering a little longer than usual. It's not because they fear you outright. It's the unspoken understanding that your presence alters the room's energy. You haven't said a word yet, but the room feels different. That is the power of aura, invisible, subtle control over the atmosphere. Machiavelli understood that the man who controls the atmosphere controls the outcome of any situation. He realized that much of power lies in perception, in how others feel when you are around. This feeling, the tension in the air, the stillness that follows you is what makes others respond to you in ways they don't even understand. They hesitate before speaking, they adjust their actions, and they begin to anticipate your next move. Without even realizing it, they are following your lead. The key to mastering aura lies not in dominating through loud actions, but in commanding the space through your very existence. When you cultivate the ability to shift the mood of a room without saying a word, you gain an invisible advantage. People become uncertain in your presence, questioning their confidence, their own position, and their response to you. That is the power of controlling the atmosphere. When they start to adapt to your energy, they fall under your influence. One of the greatest weaknesses any ruler or leader can have is predictability. Predictability is the death of power. When people can anticipate your actions, they begin to prepare for them, and when they can prepare, they can neutralize you. It's a dangerous game, one that Machiavelli warned against, and one that can easily lead to downfall. Machiavelli understood that the most effective way to rule is not by being seen and heard at all times, but by keeping others guessing. When people cannot predict you, when they don't know whether you will respond or remain silent, they become unsure of themselves. This uncertainty is a powerful tool because it forces them to adjust to your rhythm. It keeps them on their toes, constantly questioning, constantly unsure. This is where the magic of aura lies. It's not about being present all the time, but about being present when it matters. When people cannot predict what you'll do next, they can never truly anticipate your moves. Predictability breeds comfort, and comfort breeds complacency. A ruler who allows themselves to be predictable invites rebellion. To be truly powerful, you must always remain a mystery. You must leave others guessing, never allowing them to feel like they have figured you out. To control perception is to control the narrative. When others can read you too easily, they begin to predict your actions. This predictability is a weakness. The most effective way to maintain control is to master the art of mystery. The less others know about you, the more power you hold. Machiavelli knew that visibility is vulnerability. The more people see, the more they can plan, counter, and control. The more transparent you are, the more you risk revealing your hand. Instead, he advocated for creating an image that was elusive, one that invited curiosity and speculation without ever offering clarity. Your actions should leave gaps for others to fill, gaps that are filled not with truth, but with their own fears and assumptions. The version of you that others create in their minds will always be more powerful than the reality you present. This is the beauty of mystery. You don't need to be trusted. You need to be unreadable. Trust is a leash. Mystery, however, is a weapon. By presenting yourself as something they cannot fully grasp, you become irresistible. Let them guess who you are, what you want, and what your next move will be. The less you reveal, the more you allow others to fill in the blanks with their own imaginations. And in doing so, you gain control over the narrative, over their perceptions, and ultimately, over their actions. When you leave gaps in your behavior, in your words, and in your intentions, people are forced to fill them in. They begin to create a version of you in their minds, one that may have no resemblance to who you really are, but will always be more powerful than the truth. This imagined version becomes more influential, more captivating than the reality ever could. Machiavelli understood this concept better than anyone. He knew that rulers should not simply exist in the minds of their subjects, they should be imagined. The most powerful figures are those who inspire myth, not those who reveal every detail of their lives. The myth of who you are becomes more influential than who you truly are, and the stories people tell about you are far more potent than the truth ever could be. Let them wonder about your motives. Let them fill in the blanks with their own fears and desires. Whether they see you as a benevolent leader or a cold and calculating ruler, it doesn't matter. What matters is that they're constantly thinking about you, constantly debating who you are. The version they create in their minds will always be more powerful than anything you could openly express. And that power lies in the myth, in the mystery that surrounds you. Your absence, your silence, your unpredictabilities are the elements that feed into the myth. It's not about being understood or trusted. It's about being inscrutable, elusive. When they can't define you, they can't dismiss you. And that is how you maintain your grip on their minds, how you remain in control of the narrative. People are creatures of habit. They thrive on routines, on knowing what comes next. But the moment you break that routine, the moment you become unpredictable, you introduce a new element of power into the dynamic. To be unpredictable is to hold the reins of power, to keep others on their toes, unsure of what you'll do next. Machiavelli understood the need for constant reinvention. A ruler who is always the same, always predictable, becomes a target. A ruler who constantly shifts and evolves remains a mystery, a force that others can't pin down. One of the key ways to master your aura is to change your rhythm, sometimes speaking boldly, other times disappearing completely. One moment, you're warm and inviting. The next, you're distant and cold. Let them feel like they've almost figured you out, only to find that you've become someone else entirely. This unpredictability keeps people off balance, and that's where the power lies. By constantly shifting your approach, you force others to adjust to you, rather than the other way around. The more you can change your rhythm, the more you control the energy in the room. You become the one who dictates the pace, who sets the tone, without anyone realizing it. Unpredictability is a tool of power. By changing your actions, your tone, your presence, you keep others from understanding your true intentions, and in that uncertainty, they follow. They adjust, they submit. A ruler's greatest strength lies not in their ability to remain the same, but in their capacity to evolve. Power is not a static thing. It is fluid, changing with the times, with circumstances, and with the ruler's own desires. To remain powerful, you must constantly reinvent yourself, shedding old versions of yourself like a snake sheds its skin. Machiavelli knew that the moment you become predictable, the moment you stop evolving, you begin to lose your grip on power. To stay in control, you must always be in the process of reinvention, always adapting to the shifting tides of the world around you. This reinvention is not just about changing your actions, it's about changing how others perceive you. The more you evolve, the more elusive you become, and the more powerful you are. By eliminating old versions of yourself, by constantly shifting your persona, you become a force that no one can truly understand. You remain an enigma, a figure that others cannot predict or control. And in that unpredictability lies your strength. It's about maintaining your dominance by constantly changing, by never becoming complacent, and by never allowing others to catch up to you. This fluidity, this constant evolution, is the key to maintaining power. The moment you stop reinventing yourself, you risk becoming irrelevant, vulnerable to those who can adapt faster than you. The powerful don't stagnate. They transform, constantly reshaping their aura to stay one step ahead. The power of aura doesn't begin when you open your mouth. It doesn't begin when you speak or act. It begins before any words are even formed. Aura begins in the silence, in the pause, in the stillness that fills the room when you enter. Before you speak, your very presence alters the energy in the space. It's as if the room takes a collective breath and holds it, waiting for you to make your move. That moment of silence is the first step to establishing your power. Machiavelli understood this crucial truth. Power is not about what you say, it's about what you make people feel before you even speak. It's about creating an atmosphere, a sense of authority that precedes any verbal interaction. Your aura begins the moment you enter the room, long before you utter your first word. People sense your presence before they hear your voice, and it is in that moment of perception that your power is first established. Aura is built in the anticipation, in the questions that linger in the air. Who is this person? What do they want? What are they thinking? It's the uncertainty that comes with your presence, the feeling that something important is about to happen, but you haven't said anything yet. That is the power of stillness. That is the beginning of your aura. Silence is a powerful tool, one that most people overlook. In a world full of noise, of constant talking and action, silence is unsettling. When you are silent, when you hold still in the midst of chaos, you create an aura of control. People are drawn to silence because it is rare, it is commanding, and it forces them to pay attention to you. In your silence, they begin to wonder what you know, what you're thinking, what you might do next, and that uncertainty makes them more likely to submit to you. Machiavelli understood that the power of aura lies not in how much you speak, but in how much you can communicate through your silence. When everyone else is fidgeting, speaking too much, or oversharing, you remain still, calm, and composed. You create an aura of mystery, one that draws people in because they can't quite figure you out. This stillness, this refusal to react or overperform, is what gives you power. People are uncomfortable with silence because it leaves them with nothing to hold on to. They can't predict you, they can't read your intentions, and that forces them to adjust to you. They wonder, what is he thinking? Why isn't he reacting? In that moment of discomfort, you gain control. You don't need to say anything to dominate the room. Your silence speaks louder than any words ever could. Aura isn't just about what you say or don't say, it's about how you move through the world. Your physical presence, the way you walk, the way you hold yourself, communicates volumes. When you enter a room, how do you carry yourself? Do you move with purpose, or do you rush, fidget, and search for attention? Machiavelli understood that the way you move defines your aura. To truly command respect, you must move with authority. You must walk as though the world is in no hurry, as though nothing is chasing you. Your pace should be deliberate, your posture straight, your body language composed. Every movement you make should communicate control, and that control starts with your walk. When you walk into a room, your presence should fill the space before you do. You don't rush to fill the silence. You don't move quickly to get attention. Instead, you move as though you own the room. You take your time, and in doing so, you communicate that you don't need to hurry because you have nothing to chase. You attract, you don't chase. That is the power of your presence. Your posture, your movement, your gestures, they all contribute to the energy you create. Keep your movements deliberate and your gestures minimal. This is how you create an aura of authority. You are not performing for the room, you are owning it. Aura is not about what you say, it's about how your presence makes others feel. Most people try to dominate a room with their words, thinking that the more they speak, the more attention they will get. But the truth is, the more you speak, the more you dilute your presence. The most powerful people are those who speak less, but whose words carry weight. Machiavelli understood that true power is in what you communicate without speaking. When you enter a room, your presence should be enough to command attention. You should occupy the space without saying a word. It's not about impressing people with your cleverness or your ability to fill the silence. It's about creating an energy, an atmosphere that others must respond to. People want to be heard, but the truly powerful don't need to be heard all the time. They are the ones who know when to speak and when to remain silent. They understand that the less they say, the more their words will matter when they do speak. Each word should feel deliberate, important. It should be measured, calculated, and heavy with meaning. When you speak, you should make them listen, not because you raised your voice, but because your words matter. Your presence speaks before you do, and what it says is far more powerful than anything you could ever articulate. To craft your aura, you must carefully control how you present yourself to the world. This is not about being flashy or trying to impress. It's about shaping how others perceive you. The most powerful figures in history didn't rely on outward displays of power. Instead, they cultivated a sense of mystery, authority, and control by carefully curating their identity. Machiavelli understood that people don't follow you because they understand you. They follow you because they are fascinated by you. They are drawn to the mystery of who you are, the aura that surrounds you, and the unspoken authority you carry. The more you allow others to project their own assumptions onto you, the more powerful your presence becomes. You don't need to seek approval or validation from others. You need to create an identity that is respected, admired, and feared. This identity doesn't need to be loud or brash, it needs to be consistent, composed, and mysterious. The less you reveal, the more power you hold. People are attracted to what they cannot have, and by withholding your true self, you force them to crave your presence even more. When you master the art of presence, you become a force that others are drawn to, not because of what you've shown them, but because of what they can never fully understand. True dominance doesn't come from what you do. It comes from what others feel in your presence. Your energy, your mood, and your presence shape the dynamic of any room you enter. People adjust to you, whether they realize it or not. The more control you have over your energy, the more control you have over the room. Machiavelli knew that the power of aura is psychological. It's about creating an emotional atmosphere that others must adapt to. If you walk into a room and radiate calm, others will feel that calmness. If you radiate authority, they will feel that too. If you are unpredictable, they will feel uncertain. Your energy becomes the pulse of the room, and everyone else must adjust to it. The more you master your energy, the more you shape the behavior of those around you. This is the power of presence. You are not simply reacting to what others do. You are creating the energy, the rhythm, that dictates how they will behave. This is not about forcing others to obey, it's about making them follow you without realizing they are doing so. When you control your presence and energy, you control the environment. And when you control the environment, you control the people within it. The ultimate form of aura is one that operates in silence, in stillness. When you have mastered the art of aura, you don't need to make your power known. You don't need to shout, to command, to demand. Your presence is enough to make people follow without you lifting a finger. Machiavelli believed that a ruler should never need to show force. The most powerful rulers are those whose presence is felt even in their absence. They don't dominate with noise or drama. They dominate with the silent, unyielding force of their aura. People obey them not because they are told to, but because they can feel the weight of their presence. Aura operates in subtlety, in mystery, and in the ability to make others bend to your will without them even realizing it. This is the true meaning of power. It's not about what you do, it's about what others feel when you are near. You don't need to explain yourself, and you don't need to apologize. Your power lies in your ability to remain unreadable, unpredictable, and unshakable. The moment they begin to question your presence, you've already won. Aura is not something you perform, it's something you live. You shape the room, the people, the very energy of the space, without saying a word. And when they feel your absence, they will feel it like a vacuum, a loss, a gap that cannot be filled. This is the power of silent tyranny. You are not seen giving orders, but you are always obeyed.